What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Universal Mastery. Welcome back to my public YouTube channel. Today we have a very interesting subject that we are going to be going into depth with, and this has everything to do with religion. So we are going to be speaking primarily about religion and everything it is that you truly need to know about it. All of the things that a lot of people keep hidden, all of the different ways that religion can influence you in a way that is not so healthy, and also some of the benefits of religion so that you can actually understand what are some of the values that it does bring to the table and how does it help some people connect with what is called a source consciousness. So we're going to be going into everything that is associated with religion in our today's video. So if this is something that you are interested in, then I highly recommend that you stay tuned, and I will see you on the other side. Okay, so welcome in. So here we are. So let's go ahead and get started. So as I said, today we are talking about religion. Now, in this today's video, I want to start with just explaining a little bit more so about the modern time religion that we all oftentimes will see presented to us on a daily basis. A lot of people are attached to different forms of religious ideas and different forms of religious belief systems. Now, what this does is it creates a reality where a lot of us end up what's called spiritually bypassing deeper things that are actually taking place underneath the surface within our bodies, and we're using our religious belief systems, or we're using our religion to not have to face these deeper things that are actually inside of us that are really needing our time and attention. So the way that this is generally going to look is we might involve ourselves with a religious group of people, or we might involve ourselves with some sort of a religious community, and next thing you know, we're all gathering together with the sole purpose of not having to face certain emotions that are in our system. So we're always checking in with each other. How are you doing? I'm doing wonderful. Good. You have God's grace. Good. You are blessed by the Holy Spirit. There's going to be a ton of modalities, belief systems, and identities that are coming together to basically hold everyone above the surface so that we don't have to go deeper down into our unconscious and start processing deeper rooted traumas. And this is a great form of what is called spiritual bypassing that is so common and absolutely takes place at large within our collective today. Now, not only is there a lot of spiritual bypassing that can take place when it comes to religion, whatever type of religion that it is, but you're also going to find a lot of different ideas and belief systems that are embedded within religion itself that are not actually grounded in healthy ideas. A lot of these ideas are what I like to call anti-nature, which means they actually go against your deeper intuition and your instincts, and they try to rewire you to believe things that are not true in regards to how nature functions, as well as in regards to how the cosmic laws, which we can also call the absolute truths that govern our reality, function. So we have a bunch of people that can often get together and they're gravitating towards each other because there are unconscious and subconscious resonance that's bringing people together not wanting to face their own trauma. And now they're finding a sense of identity, or they're finding a sense of self in this religious organization or in this group of people. And at first, when you're starting to feel understood, you're starting to feel heard, you're starting to feel seen as someone who's just trying to feel better, and you're just trying to seek Christ, or you're just trying to get closer to Muhammad, you're just trying to get closer to God and be a better quote-unquote child of God, it feels good at first because you're just trying to feel better. And I can completely understand this, and I can have compassion for people that are drawn into these types of groups. I've been that person too. I've been involved in these types of, religious ideas. I've been attached to a religious identity. Okay, I know what that path looks like, and I know how far it generally can go. But then it does absolutely seem like it gets to a point where there are deeper things that are under the surface that really need to be addressed. And then the religious system or group can then turn into something that's really unhealthy and can be quite dangerous for other people because there's a lot of projection that can take place. And I'm going to be covering that. But I want to start with just having a little bit of understanding and compassion for people that are approaching religion in this type of way. And there may be a lot of you that are listening to this right now that can actually resonate with what it is that I'm talking about. All right. So once again, when you have a bunch of people that are drawn to each other because they're resonating together, and they're mainly resonating because they don't want to face deeper things inside of themselves, even though they don't know that's the case, it's very easy that they start to form a cult mindset, which means everyone in the organization, everyone in the group is starting to kind of lean towards, hey, you should feel this way. Hey, you should think this way. This is how we feel. This is how we think. You should be doing the same thing. And remember, the general archetype of what we're feeling and what we're doing and what we're believing is actually so that we don't have to face deeper things inside of the self. So if you're someone that's approaching religion from a lens of actually trying to heal and wanting to better yourself, this is why oftentimes you can get rubbed very much so the wrong way, where you're finding yourself in a group of people that you just don't feel safe around and you just don't feel good with because you feel like there's some form of off energy. You feel like, you can sense into the deeper bypassing that is actually taking place with this group of people. And that's important to be in touch with yourself and to tune into your intuition if this is something that you are noticing. All right? So with that being said, when these other people are telling you what you should believe or what you need to believe in order to be saved by God, or how you should be feeling because you're saved by Christ. Don't worry about all the trauma that you went through. You're saved by Christ now. You can feel happy again. It's like, I understand that the intention is good, but the approach isn't grounded and the approach isn't healthy. So with that, we want to see it and we want to recognize what's happening. This is a group of people that are running from themselves, and they're trying to get you to do the same thing unconsciously. So what they're doing to themselves and their own wounded inner child parts, they're now projecting it onto you within the religious group, trying to get you to do the same thing. And then you add on the layers of the archetype of God. And a lot of the way that God is structured within religion is almost as if it is some narcissistic figure that you always have to seek the approval of. And what's so crazy about this? A lot of the times this can correlate to father figures in our own actual life. And if you even tie this down or draw this back to the past, if you look, not too long ago in our past, 100 years ago, there was a lot of men that had to go to war. There was men that were 20, in their 20s, in their teenage years, that were drafted to go to war, and they saw terrible things. And then when they got back from war, not only did they see terrible things and have to go through really traumatic experiences, but then they didn't even know how to heal that trauma and how to reintegrate back into society. So there was a lot of men specifically that had a lot of trauma that came back into the real world, that had families and children at home that are now dealing with these huge amounts of trauma that they don't even know how to navigate. And what this did is this made a lot of men turn into more so narcissistic behavior it made a lot of men turn to narcissistic behavioral patterns. And then this is when a lot of the women in those homes that were playing more so of traditional roles were starting to go through abuse with the family system, a lot of times from the men, because they had the trauma that they didn't know how to process. So they became narcissists, and then the women basically had to become codependent on the man, because narcissists create codependency. And this is just one example, but then when you move into a religious system like Christianity that supports the Son, the Father, and the Holy Spirit, a lot of the times what we do subconsciously is we connect with God as an actual father figure that maybe we had in our own life that was narcissistic in nature, that had narcissistic traits. And then we sort of replace this father figure with God, and we want to seek the approval of God, who is actually us trying to seek the approval of our own father that maybe in our present moment we don't even have a relationship with. Maybe our father passed away. Maybe we have a terrible relationship with our father, but now we're kind of placing this archetypal connection onto God, thinking that I can get the approval of God, which is actually me seeking the approval of my dad or seeking the approval of my father. And there's a lot of different narcissistic traits that seem to show up in the modern Bible today. And this is important stuff to know about, because not everything you read in the Bible is going to be what you're getting face value. There are so many people that read the Bible and think that just because it's in the Bible, it is 100% true and it's literal. You have to also remember that this is man-made. This was made by another person like myself, like you, like your neighbor, like the stranger you've never even met before. And not only was it made by man, but it was texts that were passed down from man to man to man to woman to man to woman to man to man. And it went down the stream until it came to its final form, which is probably very much so altered and probably very much so corrupt from the original message that was trying to be communicated. And we see this in our modern Bibles today, our modern religious texts today, and people are following this and believing this as if it is 100% truth and 100% authenticity just because it's God's word, or just because it says it's God's book, just because it says that, when you don't even know the full history of where it comes from. You might logically think you know, but you don't actually know. So you're basing your entire reality and your belief system and way of being off of a text that, for all that you know, may have potentially been created intentionally to in place certain messages and communication that goes against your best interest or goes against things that are truly important for your soul's development. And that's where things can get to a much deeper, darker place when we look at a lot of the societal programming and a lot of the corruption that takes place within society as a whole. I mean, look at the concept of what happened with Epstein. Look at what's going on with Jeffrey Epstein. Look at what's happening with P. Diddy. Look at what's going on behind the scenes in the entertainment industry, within our own government, within different forms of politics, okay? There's a lot of weird things that are taking place that we don't fully understand. And then we have this mainstream religious belief that is promoted and pumped to the entire collective consciousness that's very supported in many ways. And it almost makes you think that there may be some sort of intention or some sort of design that's behind this mainstream spiritual belief system. Almost as if there's certain people that designed it this way for you as the consumer to take in to be 100% truth. And whether you agree with me or not, that's completely okay, but I just want to share this with you. I want to cover all these different bases. Is there truths that show up in the Bible? Are there principles that are important? Absolutely, there's no doubt about that. But is there also a lot of things that aren't healthy? And is there intentional programming that's very manipulative, where there's a truth here and then there's a falsity right after. So truth is then embedded with falsities, and we don't fully understand how to navigate it anymore because we're lost, because we're being hypnotized to think this is true, and then it's hit with something that's completely anti-nature. Okay, the truth makes us more receptive, and then the anti-nature principle sinks into the subconscious, and then we lock in and we think it's true. We believe it. And the next thing you know, we're starting to form what is called the religious identity. This is an identity that we will oftentimes form that's a protective identity. And when I say protective, I mean it's trying to keep us safe, but the way it's keeping us safe is by not feeling certain emotions that are actually important to feel. And when we're attached to these identities, we're starting to continuously use religion as a form of bypassing. So now, instead of addressing my trauma and coming to terms with the things that I've experienced and facing those, I just gave it all to Jesus. I gave it all to God. And now I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to see it. I was baptized. All my sins are taken away. All the guilt and the shame that I have inside of myself, it's just gone now because I baptized myself. I just went under the water. I came out. The priest did it for me. The pastor did it with me. And now I'm free. And I understand the concept of that is okay. I get the concept. It's like we want to heal. We want to feel better. We want to live our life in the way that we're meant to live it, but that's not the approach. You cannot bypass the inner process to get to that space. And if it was true, then I promise you there would be a lot more religious people that would be getting a lot more success with these practices. But this is why people like myself thrive with what I do, because I help people actually work through the deeper roots of what's going on within the system so we can actually start changing our lives for the better and experience a real connection to God. And also realize God exists inside of us too. God is not just outside of us, it's also inside of us, and there's no difference. God is all around me, and I am God. Okay, and that's the case for all of us. But in religious belief systems, that's a sin. That's a bad thing. God has to be outside of you. It's the Father. You have to, not sin. Every time you sin, there's more shame and judgment that you should be feeling. And now you need to get the approval of this God to forgive you for it. You might as well just go to your parents and ask them for your forgiveness and see how far that goes. Because it's probably not going to go too far. You're probably going to get triggered. And you're going to realize they're not perfect either. Okay? So let's not project our trauma onto a spirit, onto an energy, onto an archetype. Let's start reeling it back in and facing it within ourselves so that we can actually heal in the way that we truly want to and in the way that we need to. That's the key. So with that being said, these are some of the darker aspects of religion itself. These are some of the avenues of religion that can sort of keep us bogged down. This is why some of us tried to go down that path and realize it wasn't for us, because we're not spiritual bypassers, because we refuse to stay attached to a religious identity and then separate ourselves from the world around us because we're the ones that are right. We're the ones that get, we have the answer. We have the truth. We refuse to do that. And some of us didn't even have a choice. It's like we just can't resonate with that. So with all of that being said, all of this is very important to look at. Religion today in our modern times, I think, causes a lot of damage to a lot of people. And I do have a personal, more so deeper spiritual belief that the reason why Israel is currently going to war with Hamas and everyone else that's going to be involved with that is because Israel is one of the archetypal locations on our planet today that represents Judaism as a whole, which is one of the biggest religious structures on our planet that I personally believe is one of the biggest religious structures for a reason, as a form of manipulation. This is my belief system. Do you need to agree with me? You don't need to, but this is what I believe. So I think there's an archetypal symbolism to Israel going to war right now that is almost representing a death process or a dissolving process that is taking place with some of the energetic roots of Judaism itself. So when you think of Christianity, you think of Judaism. When you think of Israel, you think of Judaism, you think of Christianity. So the fact that Israel, the Holy Land itself, is right now going through a lot of turmoil, this shows that there are changes happening in the collective consciousness when it comes to Judaism and Christianity and religion as a whole. Because I think a lot of other religions right now also base themselves largely off of Judaism. And this is a healthy thing. Now, that doesn't discount the pain and the suffering that is taking place in Israel or in Hamas or anyone else involved. That's very traumatic, and it's very sad that people have to go through that suffering. But at a collective level and on a spiritual level, I believe that there's a lot of importance that these things are taking place because it's causing an energetic shift that was much needed in our collective. And I know that that can be hard to understand and that can be hard to follow, but I do believe that is something that is taking place. And I think what it's going to start initiating, what it has started initiating, I should say, is a process of us learning more about what religion has been for so many years and seeing through the holes. Thank you for the confirmation. And then seeing through the holes that exist within religion itself so that we don't have to fall within those pitfalls, but we can actually start reforming religion to be something that is healthier for us as a collective consciousness. And I do believe there are people that use religion in a healthy way. I think it's less common than people that use it for a spiritual identity to bypass, but I do think there are a good amount of people that are using it in a healthy way to connect with the idea of the authentic self through Christ, for example. When you look at how Christ was with his people, when you look at how he behaved and how he operated, yeah, maybe there was some components where he wasn't in touch with his boundaries a little bit more, or his internal anger and aggression. But for the most part, he was very connected to everyone. He understood the connectedness of everyone. He had an intention to want to help people because he was in tune with himself and wanted to help himself. He was connected to the source consciousness. He was God's son, right? Every single one of us has this energy inside of us. We're all connected to that same source. We're all connected to each other. We're all here to heal ourselves and to come into more understanding of what we are and who we are, and then have that effect onto those around us. That's just what it is, and that's just true, regardless. So with that being said, it's so important to follow this, because when we understand that there is a healthy way to use religion, you know, even for those of us that had a bad taste with religion, we don't need to go and attack people or go after people that are religious. You know, otherwise we're just reiterating that same abuse that maybe we went through in our past, or whatever abuse and neglect we went through within our religious belief system or identity or groups of people. We want to know that there's people out there that are using it in a healthy way. It's not all bad. But then there is a lot of people that are using it not so in a healthy way. And that's also important to see. But I think we're at a point in time now where religion is drastically shifting to a point where people are going to be able to embrace it and work with it in a much healthier way. And I don't know exactly how that shift is going to take place, but I think people are starting to work with the energy of Jesus more in regards to the archetypal energy of the religion itself, rather than focusing on the projecting of trauma onto God and seeking God's approval and then needing to be relieved of sins and then having to be this good human being. I think that essence of Christ, living with connectedness, living with an open heart, seeing others as ourselves, I think that's the doorway to changing what religion actually looks like and how it's going to function in everyday life. But, you know, unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of changes and there's going to be a lot of transformations that are needing to take place within the collective consciousness, like what's happening with Israel, for these things to initiate themselves in. And you know what else I think? I think there's going to be a birthing also that takes place of new types of religions I think there may be new types of spiritual beliefs and ideas and groups of people that can start coming to the forefront. For example, those of us that are into the occult. I think especially those of us that are into the occult and gravitate towards some of the darker aspects of it. For a long time, this has been very demonized. This has been something you have to stay away from. This has been a sin in regards to Christianity. But in reality, I think that there's a very important place for that. And I think there's a lot of room for people to heal and develop in very powerful ways if you actually know what it is that you're working with. And I do believe that with the energetic changes that are happening on our planet, it's creating space for more people that resonate with this type of stuff to come to the forefront. And I believe that I'm one of these people too that's meant to kind of bring more awareness to this stuff, to the mass collective consciousness. And I'm honored to be able to do that. But it is important. So there's going to be a lot of changes that we can expect moving into the near future, definitely within the next 5 to 10 years. And the way that we understand religion and have understood religion for the past couple hundred years, it's going to drastically change. I promise this. And as all the different older generations move on and the newer generations come up, there's going to be so much more room for more open-mindedness and different understandings and more consciousness on being attached to spiritual identities. Now, with all these beautiful things that are going to happen, there's also going to be negatives that come out of this too. There's going to be new types of spiritual identities that are going to be formed. You're going to have the new age love and light spiritual identity, which is also easy to fall into. You're going to have the spiritual identity of someone who's working with the darker aspects of the occult, that thinks that they're this powerful person that's here to, control other people because they're operating from a trauma response and they're just trying to protect themselves from the abuse that they went through. We're going to have all kinds of different spiritual identities that people are going to try to grab onto, but through that, there's going to be people that are going to understand and learn from those lessons. And they're going to be able to connect with their core. And they're going to be able to let go more. And then they're going to be able to connect to these parts of themselves that have needed their attention for a very long time when it comes to vulnerabilities, when it comes to repressed emotions, when it comes to healing trauma. This is all stuff that is absolutely slowly but surely making its way more public into the mainstream so that more people can start taking this stuff in and being influenced by it. There's a lot of changes that are going to happen. When it comes to that collective programming that a lot of us experience, where it's like you get subtly influenced by movies, TV shows, music, the news, all of these different types of medias and corporations. There will come a time where these things change, and the things we're going to be influenced by at that deeper unconscious level are going to, one, become more conscious to us because we're going to be aware of it and how that affects us. But two, those things are going to have different influences. They're going to start changing to be a little bit more healthy. Right now, we're in that process. We're actually watching it take place. If you go back, 20 years from now, it was actually a lot worse. So it is improving, and people are getting more sensitive to what's actually happening. Even if they're not conscious of it, they're sensitive and they can feel certain things from this stuff. And then they're like, I don't feel good with that. Let me just go this way instead. So very interesting stuff that is taking place. This is the prime message that it is that I wanted to communicate in today's video. So with that being said, we're going to wrap it up here. If you got value from today's video, I would encourage you to slam the thumbs up button. Drop down into the comment section and let me know what you learned from this. Share with me what you picked up from this. If there's something that you are resonating with that I spoke about, I would love to hear exactly what that thing is. Okay, hit the notification bell and make sure you're getting notified whenever I post, because I'm posting videos at a minimum every single day. So make sure you tap into it. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, because by subscribing, you are further energetically connecting to everything it is that I am personally teaching. And I would encourage you to tap into that. Okay? Copy and paste this link and send it to someone that you feel like needs to hear this. There's someone that you know who needs to hear this, so send it to them. Okay, now I'm going to take your awareness to the Patreon. this is the most important link. It's the first link in the description below. You cannot miss it. This is going to give you access to a whole host of exclusive content. Everything from deeper spiritual education, stuff that goes into the occult, ritualistic practices, demonstrations, all kinds of that stuff. An entire magic training course that I have that is 7 hours long that takes you from start to finish on everything you need to know. Okay, then I have collection sections that address trauma, healing with the shadow, creating a foundation to help you better regulate your nervous system, all of this very important stuff over on the Patreon. Make sure you check it out. There's over 1,580 plus active members, and it's only continuously growing as time is going on. So I would encourage you to look into it, and you can even sign up for free to see what's going on the other side. Now at tier number 3 and 4, you are gaining access to something extremely unique. This is what is called a Universe B ritual service. And this is a ritual service, the only one that I personally perform, and it's for my collective specifically. So what it is it is an energetic transfer from me to you to support you through the deeper layers of working with your unconscious mind so that you can start healing repressed energies that are inside of your nervous system, process them, release them, and then it starts to change your energetic resonance, and that starts to change your life experience around you. So the ritual itself brings you through what is called an initiation into Universe B, which is the shadow dimension. And a lot of people have a hard time accessing this dimension. This is why a lot of people take psychedelics to get themselves deeper into their unconscious, but you can also do this using energetic transfer, and this is what I specialize in. So for any of you that want to take advantage of it and go through this process, I have the full education on everything you need to follow, different practices to go through for those of you that participate in this. All of it's on the Patreon. Okay? There are over 300 members that are continuously taking place in this ritual service on a monthly basis. So if this is something that you are resonating with, I encourage you to check it out. First link below. We'll leave it there. Second link, this is where you can book a one-on-one call with me, or you can jump into mentorships. This is the most intimate way to personally work with me. I would be honored to be able to connect with you in that way as well. So if you're in resonance with that as well, check it out. I work with people from all over the world. Currently, I have a full schedule, but if you book with me, I promise you, I will find a way to get you in. Okay, so with that being said, second link below. In the same second link, you can book a tarot card reading with Alexia. Alexia is a very gifted tarot card reader that can help you understand what is going on within your internal process and then what's happening in the world around you in correspondence, and then what to expect moving into your near future. So everyone, I should say most of the people that have gotten readings from her have given me feedback, and they have said things along the lines of, this was the best reading that I have ever received, which is really cool. So if you want to take advantage of it, it's also in that second link. Now, in the third link, this is what is called the Lucifer's Foundation course. This is a course that's going to give you step-by-step instructions on everything you need to know to develop a healthy relationship with the energy that is known as Lucifer. So definitely look into that if you're interested. Fourth link, this is my YouTube memberships. This is where you get to join into the Universal Mastery family, and I would be honored to have you a part of it. Very much so. And that's literally what we are. We're a group of like-minded individuals that are basically like a family that are here to support each other going through these deeper layers of working with the deep unconscious and subconscious mind. Okay, and then depending on what tier you are, you get access to early content releases and some exclusive content as well. So I encourage you to check that out. And then the final link, that's the fifth link. This is going to give you access to the books. For those of you that are into spirituality and the occult, definitely check out these books. All right, we're going to wrap it up here. I appreciate all of you very, very much. And I hope you all have an amazing rest of the day or night, wherever you are. And I will see you in the next video. Peace.